This is my palette review for January. Welcome to everyone watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I'm going to be reviewing the eyeshadow palettes that I tried for you in January. So this is going to be my first eyeshadow palette review of the year. I have 6 palettes here for you today. We're going to have a look at the close-ups, at the swatches, at the looks that I did, and I'm going to tell you all about how much I like these or didn't like these or what were the pros and cons for each one. So let's just get to it. So I was sort of like in between a lot of palettes for January, so that's why there isn't a lot here. There were a lot of small things as well, and that had to do with the fact that I got quite a few of my like Black Friday orders and stuff in either not even on time for my January haul, or I got them just in time. And then we had incredibly bad weather. We had lots of snow in January, which is lovely, but it was killer for lighting. So I didn't have good enough lighting to be taking pictures of some things. So I didn't manage to do that until much, much later. So I had initially wanted to put in some of the things that I got from YESSTYLE in my Black Friday order, but I've decided that that's going to go into my February review instead. So what do I have for you in this video today? I have the 3 palettes I bought from the drugstore in the UK when I was in London. And I have a new palette from Gloss Gods, the Starry Skies, the Nomad Christmas Market palette, and that's actually what's on my eyes today. And then I have the newest edition, which is the Catrice, the Deep Velvet. Because I realized, because a lot of my Black Friday orders or things that were sent to me in PR were very much delayed due to the holiday season, as well as really bad weather that we've had here in Europe at the start of January. That's also why I wasn't able to rope in some of the things that I did already have in my January haul. We had so much snow, and the lighting just wasn't good enough for me to be taking pictures. So that's why you're getting these bits. I did get this one in, and I just realized with everything that has now come in, I think I can film my eyeshadow palette review videos with enough palettes for the next 2 months to come, and I didn't want to leave you guys hanging too long on this one, so I did already do a look with this. If you want to see me showcase all the other Catrice products that are new out, you need to check out my video that went live on Saturday, because I did a full face makeup look from start to finish with all new Catrice. I think pretty much everything was new from Catrice in that video. So let's just talk about these 2 things first. The new palettes I picked up from MUA. These little 5 pans from MUA, nobody talks about them, but I really love them. I've known that MUA can do really good eyeshadow for years. They've had a couple of their palettes go viral over time, but in recent years, nobody's really talking about them, and these are so cheap and cheerful. I believe in the UK they're like £3 or £4, which in euros is like €5 or something like that. So whenever they do different color stories, I pick up a few. I still have Andromeda Skies, which still is available, I believe, and I have Enchantment, which seems to be discontinued. I couldn't find it at the Superdrug that I bought these at. And one of these seems to be a limited edition offering, which is the Cherry Kiss. So let me talk about that one first. And these kind of shades, I feel it's very similar to what's going on in the Catrice as well. This is really the vibe at the minute. This berry, burgundy, cherry cola sort of vibe kind of thing. So the Cherry Kiss is essentially 5 warmer toned pinky reddish shades. This brown has a lot of red through it, so to me it reads more like a burgundy. This shimmer is beautiful. This has a little bit more of a peachy undertone, and these 2 neutrals are a little bit more rosy warm as well. This was really, really beautiful, but it was a little bit more warm toned than I had expected when I put it on my face. So this skewed a little bit more orange peach than I would have wanted it to. It was still really nice quality. It is very similar to the ones I have already tried in the past. And for the price point, you just can't beat these. I just don't know how long this Cherry Kiss one is going to be around for. In November, when I picked this up, it was sitting in a separate display within the MUA console thing. So not sure this is a permanent product. But what seems to be permanent is the Stardust palette. And this is one I hadn't seen before. This seems to be a really nice neutral with cool tones in, and then this beautiful shimmer here on the end. It's got a little bit of a shift, as you can see. It's very shiny, really shimmery, and this was so, so pretty on. This is what I'm also getting from like the Andromeda Skies and the Enchantment palette. Just really good, highly pigmented colors. And like I said, for the price point, these cannot be beat. So even if you like your makeup to be cheap and cheerful, I really want to recommend these. But this is also just really good eyeshadow. Like, not even just for the price point, but just in general. Like, is this as good as like some of my indie palettes or like a Natasha Denona? No, but it definitely isn't bad eyeshadow either. You know what I mean? It's just really good. It's a very solid pick, and I've now tried 6 of these. I also tried the Desert Bloom and the Neutral Wanderlust, I think it was called. So 2 of the other shades that they used to do, and they've all been very successful for me. Just that, like with the Cherry Kiss, I'm like, these colors don't really suit my skin as much. But for the most part, they have been really successful from a quality standpoint. I don't experience fallout or creasing with these. And the looks I do with these every single time are just really, really beautiful. I really love these, and I really feel that these should get more hype. And I think the only reason why they get no more hype is because the only place you can really find these is in the UK drugstore. I definitely think that's one of the reasons why this isn't doing any, like, it's not getting as much buzz as I feel it should. What has been getting buzz, but that I hadn't managed to try yet, is the new Morphe palette. So this is the Cyber Chrome eyeshadow palette, and I just have one of the 6 pans because I just wanted to try that really shiny formula that it has in the middle. That's what I was really after. They do larger palettes, but they don't have this formula in the middle and that to me makes the palette. I think this is a really, really pretty cool toned offering at the drugstore. I believe this was like around the £15 mark, so 16, 17 euros, which, you know, in all fairness, for only 6 pans of product, that's not that cheap if you compare it to other things, but it's still a really solid pick. I really like the look that came out of this. This is one of the things where I was like, yup, I really need to consider my silver shadows a little bit more often, because I always feel like silvers can be a little bit boring, because very often I feel that brands, when they try to do a cool tone palette, they just stick in a gray and call it a day. And they don't really make the effort to give us the range of cool tones that they do when they make warm tone palettes, I feel anyways. They put less effort in, it seems. But this is really, really pretty, and I was afraid that this rosy tone would be too warm tone, but it was really pretty on. It paired really well with the silvery things. This white in the middle has the pink sort of flip to it. That was really pretty. You get a deep shade, you get 2 shades that you could potentially use in the crease or for blending. I was really happy with the way this came out, and I haven't tried a lot of Morphe eyeshadows. I never really got the hype on the really big 30 pan palettes. Those were just too big for me. I didn't like it. It very much read coastal scents to me, and I had a couple of those sort of like wholesale kind of palettes back in the day. When I first started doing my makeup, I was using these like 120 color and the 88 neutral palette, whatever it was that I had. And those were good at the time. But with Morphe, with those really big palettes, I just never really got the hang of them. I don't think I ever owned one of the larger Morphe palettes because it was just like 32 shades. Gives me a headache. So that's why I don't love really big palettes to begin with. So I'm really glad that Morphe now did these smaller things. And compared to other things that I did try by them, I did try the Jaclyn Hill Vault, which I know a lot of people hated on, but I quite like mine. I think I got the good batch with that one. I ended up being lucky. And I had a couple of those palettes in my makeup collection for some time. I just wasn't reaching for it a whole lot. But yeah, this is really nice. And I think it's sort of like, you know, Morphe is back. And I definitely feel that we can say that that is now the case. So yeah, this is really pretty. I know not everybody likes the shade in the middle because they don't like them. It's more of like a poured sort of formula. It almost feels like it's very smooth. But I found that, yeah, picking it up with a brush can be a little bit more difficult. But I didn't have that many issues there. And with fingers, I was able to intensify it. And it did stay put for me. So I didn't experience like extra bad creasing or whatever it is that I've heard about these. So This little Morphe guy, I am very surprised with. I didn't expect it to like it as much as I do. We'll stick to the small things for a sec. So the Catrice Deep Velvet palette, some of you already wanted to hear my thoughts about it. And I was like, you know what? I think I can like squeeze it into this video. So I did a look on with this over the weekend, and this is really pretty. This is a line of eyeshadow palettes that Catrice has been doing for some time. I did some videos with when they first launched them, the first 4, but the color stories of those weren't quite right for me, so I do still have a couple of the later ones. The Soft Peony is still in my makeup collection, as well as the Cocoa palette. The Cocoa is an all brown, the Soft Peony is essentially like a really cool toned pinky sort of palette. It's really pretty, and I feel like this is the amped up version of the Peony palette, and where I felt the Cherry Kiss was surprisingly more warm toned than I had expected from swatching it and looking in the pan. Let me show them to you side by side. I think you can already see what I mean. But this, the Catrice one, was surprisingly more cool toned, which is rare. If you follow my channel, you know how rare it is that when things look a little bit more warm toned in the pan, to then put them on my eyes and go like, ooh, it's actually more cool toned. These pull really pink on me. I feel there's only one sort of warm-ish tone, and that's this sort of like neutrally rosy shade. But still, it's not super warm toned. I ended up using every single one of these shades in the palette to create the look I did. So let me tell you what I did. I ended up putting this in the crease. This one is all over the lid. I used this one for deepening up. This I use as liner. This one is in the inner corner. This one ended up being like a good blend shade for me. And then this is what's on the lower lash line. I felt really, really pretty, and I still had to do some additional looks with the Nomad palette that I'm wearing today, actually. But I didn't want to take this off. So I was like, you know what? I'll just do an extra Nomad look like right before I go to bed or like tomorrow morning, because I had already tested out the Nomad palette and I already knew a little bit about the formula. But this one I was like, oh, it's so pretty, and it still wore really well throughout the day as well. I went dancing last night and this was still on at the end of the day. With this palette though, you do need to realize that the formula is a little bit more powdery. There's quite a little bit of kick up, so you really need to make sure you tap off your brush if that's something you're not used to doing, and you need to make sure that you really nicely like clean off this palette before you put it away. And as you can see, this has happened to me with all of these palettes over time, is that you can see in some of the shades where your finger touches it if you swatch them, and then the shades become darker. So that is something to look for. In some of the old ones that I had, it did create hard pan. In some of the later ones that I've tried, this never happened. It still changes color, but I can still pick up the product quite easily with a brush, even a couple of years down the line. I think the Soft Peony I've had for like a year or two, and still no hard pan, which I think one of the green ones that I liked in like the first rendition hard pan super quickly for me. So they've definitely done something to this formula to make it a little bit more long lasting, I feel. So this was very successful for me. I was really happy. By the way, I'm filming this a little later than I normally do, but my parents came over and I was of course not going to tell them no. I was like, I can film my video a little bit later, but that's why the lighting looks different. I always try to film my videos in like daytime, around like noontime, because then you have the most even lighting. But today it's almost like 2:30, so that's a bit late for me to be filming, really. Then I think the star of the show, the palette that blew me away the most, is the Starry Skies by Gloss Gods. Now, I do want to start off by saying that this Gloss Gods palette isn't the same compared to other Gloss Gods palettes that I've tried, and not in a bad way. I definitely think they've changed their formula. So if you've tried Gloss Gods palettes before and you were hoping this was the exact same formula, it's not going to be. But this is so, so beautiful. Based on the swatches I did, I was already thinking like, this is like the Natasha Denona Xenon on steroids. So if the Natasha Denona Xenon is too light for you, or if it's not giving you enough impact, because that's quite a subtle palette, I have to say, then this. If you want it to be smokier, if you want these shimmers to be more impactful, this. But it's still fair skin friendly is what I'm trying to say here. And it is super cool toned. It's quite silvery, like even the shades, I think it's the black background actually, a shade like this and a shade like this, this one a little bit as well, look like they're going to be very warm toned, but that's because everything else is so cool toned that those shades look like they're gonna be warm toned, at least in my brain, because when I used them, they didn't look warm toned at all. They were either perfect neutrals, especially with this crease shade right here, that was a perfect neutral for me, and this, which looks like a little bit of like a really soft gold shade, it looked very silvery on me. I couldn't see any of the gold once it was truly on my lids, so I really liked it. What you do have to like if you were looking into this palette is blue. I felt that quite a few of the shades, I mean, there is of course a straight up blue here, but this is quite blue. These two shades are quite blue, and quite possibly the best shade in the palette, which is this white with a blue flip, is also quite blue. So you are looking at quite, oh, and by the way, this white isn't white, it's like a very, very light baby blue. So there is quite a bit of blue heavy in here, and that could be a downside if you don't like blue eyeshadow. For me, I didn't mind it because no matter what look I did with the palette, I did 3 of them, I really felt like it still came together and it wasn't overly blue. Only the one that I did with the blue one, with this really nice blue navy shimmer in the palette, that was the true thing that truly looked blue on me. Everything else, I just really appreciated the little pop of blue that I got in some of the shades. So, but if you don't like blue shadow, because I know for a lot of people it's like such a throwback to the 80s that they have like, okay, I did the blue look in the 80s and I don't need any more. You know what I mean? So if that's you, this may not be your palette. But if you like a little bit of blue, or if you like pairing grays with blues, then this can be a really nice one. The rest of the palette is quite gray, silver leaning actually. And as I mentioned, this shade right here, I mean, the camera is not doing it justice. That, the minute I put it on my face, I was like, this is like black light for your eyes, but without the UV lighting. It's like, it's giving your eyes the effect as if you're under black light lighting, but without the lighting. It's really beautiful. It is very emollient though, and that's what I mean with this Gloss Gods palette having a different formula compared to other things I've tried from them. The shimmers in here feel a little bit more flaky. They seem to be a little creamier in the base that they're suspended in, making me feel like these are the most similar to some other brands that I've tried, where you have those really sort of silicone-y feeling shimmers. They look pretty, but they can lead to creasing if you do have hooded eyes or if you don't properly prime your base. I don't really mind the kind of creasing that I ended up with these because it was really easy to tap back in. So halfway through the day, I would check myself in the mirror and at work, in the bathroom, and I was just going boop, 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 and it was fixed and it stayed put the rest of the day. So yeah, you will experience a little bit of creasing, but not every type of creasing is the same. Eyeshadows do crease, and especially if you have certain textures on your lid, it's gonna crease anyway. There isn't always something you can do about it, especially if the formulas are as creamy as in this palette, I feel. And it's just, the minute the shades have this slippy feel, I feel that you do run the risk of a little bit of creasing. But on me, I felt the creasing wasn't too horrible and it didn't distract from the overall makeup look at all, like I have with some other indie brands that I've tried. A brand like Adept, for me, as beautiful as their palettes are, creases to the point where I can't fix it. And with this, it does crease a little bit, but I can just tap it back in and it will be fine. If I can fix it like that, I don't mind it that much. So yeah, the Starry Skies, we all knew I was gonna like this because this is a color story after my heart. If you like the look of the Bella Beauty Bar Realm of Fairies, but you feel that that's perhaps a little bit difficult to get if you're in the EU, Gloss Gods is Swedish, so depending on where you live, this may be a little easier to get. You don't have as many multi-chromes as in the Realm of Fairies by Bella Beauty Bar though. So if you want more straight up shimmers, you don't want there to be too many shifts, this can be another one. Like I said, it's very similar to the Natasha Denona Xenon. Because this is a bigger palette from Gloss Gods, it is a little bit more expensive, I have to say. So their 12 pans used to retail for around like the €40 mark. This retails for around the €55 mark. And it is sort of borderline what I would be willing to pay for a palette like this. I got it in the Black Friday sale. I got a deal on it. That meant I had so much money off that I didn't have to pay for shipping, and I still got a discount on this. I think my entire order was like €45, and I feel like that was still like the kind of price point that I feel this palette is worth. I wouldn't pay too much more. So with this one, if you were looking into it, maybe wait for a sale. I'm not entirely sure whether you're going to like it as much as I do if you pay full price for it and you have to add shipping on top. I'm not sure whether you're going to like that, because to be quite fair, for just a couple of euros more, you get the Natasha Denona palette, and I think the Realm of Fairies is only about €15 more expensive than this is. So again, depending on where you live, what you like, how much you're going to have to pay for shipping, this may or may not make sense in terms of a purpose. But if you were asking me, is this a really good cool tone palette? It certainly is. Is it my new favorite cool tone palette? That's a pretty bold claim. That's a pretty bold claim. I will have to play more with this to determine whether I'm really going to like it for like the rest of the days. But like I said, there are some stunning shades here. I love this. I love the navy blue. This is a beautiful silver shimmer. I can appreciate that these two soft golds pull a little bit more silvery champagne on my lids as well. Really beautiful. You also get a pink flip in here, so don't think that these are just 3 whites. They're not. This is a little bit more of a, like I said, in the pan it looks like a gold, but it really isn't that gold. It's more like a silver. And then the other one is North Star, is a really pretty like white shimmer as well, and then we have a like pink flip shimmer as well. So there's a little bit of everything here, and I really feel, because I was testing out this palette in the week where it snowed and it went with it perfectly. This palette looks like everything that you can see outside on a very like dark snowy day. That's what you're getting from this. So if you want to turn yourself in a true snow queen, this palette for sure. And finally, what's on my lids today is the Nomad Cosmetics Christmas Market palette. It's officially called the Christkindl Marked. And as you can see, the box it comes in has a little advent calendar, and also the town square looks differently because this has the Christmas tree on, and then here we actually have like the fun fair that comes with the Christmas market. So, and like the little stalls and stuff. So I like with Nomad that the box is very often different than the palette itself. I don't keep boxes for a lot of brands, but with Nomad I do, because I always feel the box adds to the experience of the palette. And also with Nomad, some of their more recent palettes have this more cardboard texture to them that I do am like, I'm just afraid to get it dirty. So that's another reason why I like to keep the boxes with Nomad. And this, I just realized I don't have that many like true Christmas palettes. I did a Christmas palette video in December, and as I was sitting down to like find all of the palettes that I wanted to feature, I was like, yeah, I don't have any like traditional Christmas palettes. So I wanted to remedy that, and this was still on my brain. I do love a bit of Nomad. I've tried quite a few of their palettes in the past, and they make some lovely things. Their formula in this one is different compared to other things I've tried from them as well. I felt that the mattes in this were a little bit more, I wouldn't want to call them chalky, but they felt drier than other mattes from Nomad that I've tried. The shimmers are lovely. I really like them. But my biggest gripe with some of the shimmers is, now that I've used the palette, you will have seen a close-up of this palette with the shades the way they came. But this green and also this brown, like bronzy shade, they seem to be like multi-chromes or whatever. Like the way they were pressed, I thought they were going to have some sort of flip. They didn't. They're, like the green is on my lids today. I did top a little bit of this shade in the middle. So that's that brightness in the middle that you're seeing. I sort of did the most lazy version of a halo eye you could possibly do. But the green is just green and the brown is just brown. It looked in the pan like it was gonna have a very strong red shift, which is why I paired it with the red matte, but I felt it didn't really quite come together. Also because the red pulls really pink, and there is like a pinky white shade here as well. This is another white with a pink flip, and also this purple. So I think these would have gone perhaps a little bit better than this bronzy thing, but oh well. Essentially what you're getting in here, and I do really appreciate that, you're getting 3 mattes on either side of a Christmas tree of shimmers. That's the way it fits in my brain. The shimmers have different undertones. This I thought was going to be a little bit more green tone, but on me it just looked like a gold. Then you get some like green tones. This has a really, it's sort of like a, I had a ColourPop Super Shock like it years ago, but it got too dry and I couldn't use it anymore. But it has this beige base to it, and then it has a green flip. I actually used it in the inner corner today to sort of like, I've been doing this a lot lately, where I sort of go from the inner corner around my crease shade to add some brightness there. And I thought it looked really, really pretty for that. So that was really successful. Then you get 2 blues. Like I said, this is a pink, a purple, a brown, and then a like silver shade. So you're getting a lot for your, like, there's a lot of undertones going on. And that did, when I started using the palette, confuse me a little bit. Where it's like, so what am I supposed to put together, huh? But I do feel that the undertones of the different mattes do match that. So you do get a navy that will work really well with the silver and the purple, for instance, or with the blue tones. You could even add it to the green tones, so that works. You do get 2 neutrals. You get a neutral, like a beigey shade, and a brown shade. So that can work as well. I would have preferred this beige to be deeper. A little bit deeper. A little bit more like, because this is a little bit grayish brown, and this could have been like in between like the beige base of this and this brown. I would have liked it better, but now like these two are really similar in terms of like the level of depth you're getting. So I feel therefore this beige just doesn't work as a crease shade on me. So I ended up using as a matte inner corner highlight, and that worked quite well. But I would have liked this to be a little bit deeper. And then matte wise, you do also get a really lovely like grayish browny taupe that could again work with all of these shades if you want to keep it a little bit more toned down. But if you want to go for the full Monty, you use something like the green and you just go to town. So this looks is essentially all 3 of these green tones, and then I put the blues on the lower lash line just to have a bit of interest there. The red to me is like my least favorite shade in the palette. If I ever use this one again, which I will do, of course, I try to rotate through my palettes as much as I can, but I think that in the future I would leave out the red, and then you can see that it's essentially a very muted, colorful color story, which I hadn't expected. So really nice. I finally have a true Christmas palette in my makeup collection. That was just something I wanted to remedy. So yeah, this is a lovely palette from Nomad. I really enjoyed playing with it. Like, just for this look alone, I mean, it's not that I don't have any green eyeshadow, but this, I'm like, oh, yeah, I should wear green more often, right? And especially with this, like, purpley magenta sweater that I'm wearing today, I really like the juxtaposition because purples and greens are opposites on the color wheel, so they can work really well in tandem as well. So I really enjoy the Nomad palette for sure. No creasing for me, no fallout. I didn't struggle with this not lasting on my lids. But like I said, I do feel this is a slightly different formula compared to other Nomad palettes that I've tried. It's up to you to decide whether that makes it worth it for you, yes or no. So there you have it. Those were all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried for you in January. I will be back with a new video really soon because I will be testing out more eyeshadow palettes for you in February, of course. But before we do that, I do want to go back to some old favorites, and I always film a video with that every month as well. So check back next Saturday, maybe Sunday. I will have a video for you with the 5 eyeshadow palettes that I went back to in January. I like to rotate through things, like I said, and just get some more use out of my older makeup as well, and just go back to old favorites and just have a grand old mooch, really. So you can expect me to do that video first, and then if you watch my Shop My Stashes, that's where I will show you what eyeshadow palettes I will be testing out for February. So stay tuned for more. I make 4 videos a week over on this channel. I also make content on my second channel, which is called Floating in Books, and there I post more lifestyle-y things with like bookish content and vlogs, and I like do some fashion content on there as well. So yeah, you can check me in one of those spaces. Instagram, TikTok, all links in the description box down below as well. So follow me wherever, and then I hope to see you again really, really soon in a new video. Bye bye.